All right, Mr. Joe Pici, we are live. It is early in the morning. Well, 9:45, not too early in the morning. I was able to lock you down for a few minutes here. So thanks for coming on the show, man.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm excited.
Hey, me too. So you was just telling me as we was coming on, and never mind my sunburn. I was coaching Little League baseball all weekend, but so you was telling me that you had a boot camp over the weekend, and you've been wrapping up some stuff, and
Well,
business has
for the
been good.
last 18 years, a couple times a year, we have a 3-day. It's actually Rapport Mastery Sales Training Boot Camp is the one that Global Gurus has ranked the #1 sales workshop in the world for 3 straight years. So
Wow.
on day 3, we actually do live outbound telephone calls, booking appointments. So it's a marquee product. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we do the Business of Speaking Training Coaching Boot Camp. So not how to talk, but how to get paid for it.
Sure. Well, hey man, that's really cool. Now how many people do you have at these boot camps over
We
the
only
weekend?
allow 24 in sales boot camp because it's. I was looking at it this morning. We had 18 different industries, and we have
Oh, wow.
everything from entry level to 35-year veterans. And in our speaker boot camp, we only allow 14 because we're one of the few speaker boot camps in the country where on day 3 everybody has to present.
I was talking to Joseph Miller. He said he's been to a couple of yours, or maybe just one, or he's trying to get back to one. But he said that's what you guys do. You do the live. You put your script together for whatever it is you're doing, and on day 3, you're on the phones and kind of just in the fire. That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't believe in role play. I believe in real play. So
Okay, so you don't do any role playing.
Our methodology in day 2 of our boot camp, we have of the 8 hours of training, it's 6 hours on our target market value proposition scripting. It is a process. It works for all industries. By the time we get done with that, we don't need a role play because then we go into actual core story or sales meeting. So when Wednesday comes at 9 o'clock, we're dialing for real. And I'm coaching them on the run. And we just finished the boot camp with a 70% conversion to appointment, closed in real money, a couple $100,000. 91. We got through 91% of the gatekeepers and got 45 return phone calls same day.
Really, out of 24 people.
We do it. The numbers never change. We're always in that 70+ percentile of booking real appointments, where we always get through over 90% of the gatekeepers because it's not about talent, charisma, mindset, being an A-type personality. It's about processing and messaging.
Yeah, I was listening to a couple of your speeches on YouTube, and you're real high on that. Your values, your processes, and the way you kind of tell a story, your core story when you're selling, right?
Well, it's not a story, and I probably misnamed it. It's 80% of that meeting, that sales meeting, is the other person talking. It's very consultative sales. It's not transactional. And again, I'm going to go against what some people say, and I apologize. But everything out there now, start everything with a story. Quite frankly, task-oriented people will shut you down in the sales meeting if you start with a story. So we're very behavior-based selling.
Okay. Which I guess kind of goes into the DISC assessment, which you're talking about, your master certified or whatever it is in DISC assessments.
Yeah, the whole first day of our sales boot camp is on communication styles.
So I did the DISC test when I was, we got Sandler training came to us at my previous company. We did like a whole several month boot camp or whatever. But the first 3 days was pretty good. And they did the DISC assessment. And I think I was a high D, high I, still don't really understand what all that stuff means, but it makes sense when I see it on paper.
Gunnar, most DISC training is good stuff, but it's a parlor game. Okay. It's I'm a this, you're a that. You put the label on your chest and then people shoot at you for the rest of your life. No, it's really not that at all. It's if I know my behavior style and I know your behavior style, what can I do to adapt to accommodate your processing style? It's not NLP. It's not manipulation. It's how can I better communicate with you so you can make a quality decision. So we get We get past that assessment. In fact, I don't even sell assessments. I want people to learn how to read character behavior.
Character behavior. That's what you want people to get.
Characteristics and behavior. Yeah.
Character. Okay. So you're trying to figure out, is there a process? And obviously you teach this, but is there a process of what type of questions you need to ask to kind of figure out what a person's personality is kind of right off the rip?
It's right off the bat. It's body language, it's voice tones. Are they talking loud? Are they talking softly? Are they talking fast? Are they talking slowly? Okay. Then the vocabulary that they use will pretty much, we can make a connection based on our pace and our volume, but people don't buy because of that mirroring. People buy because how they view their task orientation and their people orientation.
Interesting. So how long have you been doing this, Joe?
Since Godzilla was a lizard.
Since he was a lot smaller than he is now?
Look, at Pici Pici, we sell, we eat what I sell. So I'm still selling. I will never give up selling because I can't get in a training room and I can't really train if I'm not in the hunt myself. Okay. And so, I guess I started selling when I was a college football coach and recruiting. And then we moved into business. And I honestly, there was a lot of great training out there, really good stuff. But what we felt like the majority of it was more mindset and attitude and motivation, which is nothing wrong with it. We wanted to be the best in the business at really working through processes and skills.
Cool. Okay, so we got to go back. You said you're a college football coach?
Yeah.
So I played ball in college. I played at UT Chattanooga.
I can tell.
Yeah,
you were a linebacker.
I played linebacker at UT Chattanooga. Loved it. But
yeah.
I also find a bunch of parallels with sales and business with the way a good collegiate program is ran.
Sure.
From starting at the athletic department to the head coach to the way he disperses everything to the individual coaches and the way they give it to us and how it all comes together. So it's really cool to see that you came from that side of things as well.
Yeah. And when you look at the top programs in America today, when you really look at and when I mean top programs, I'm talking about the ones that year after year after year have a quality product. Maybe they might not win them all, but there's a quality product. And the head coach or the staff is focused more on the process than on the scoreboard. The scoreboard is in direct relation to your process. And so that's the way we train sales and business development and even our business of speaking and training. If you do things the right way and you have a process, the wins will come.
Yeah, so I think right now you could probably look at Nick Saban and see that, people can like him, they can hate him, whatever you want to do. We played against him several times. Listen, their team operates in a certain way. They're set at such a high standard, and it starts with everything behind the scenes. And he goes on to talk about this in some leadership stuff. But if people would just take kind of his ideas and his values and put it into their business, it would work no matter what you're doing.
Well, let's go back to last Sunday, a week ago. I go in and I set up the room, and then I make myself available because I have people that come from all over the country. And you can see when they walk in. Now, I'm going to tell you, some of these are salty dogs, but they know on day 3, we're going to make real calls. They come in with fears and apprehensions and disbelief, and they've seen it all, done it all, or they've been to trainings, they never got ROI. That's what they walk in with. And then we start our process on day 1. And they always want to ask questions on what we're going to cover on day 3. But we stick to our process. Now, again, 18 different industries, all different skill sets. But on day 3, they all use the same process. We've created the script that best applies to their market, and they all score. It's every industry scores. And because, again, practices change, but principles don't. And so by having a process, you have a set of principles that people observe.
Yeah, I like that. Practices change, but principles don't. That's so football, but it translates straight over into sales.
Sure it does.
So now, obviously, so you were coaching, you were doing recruiting, and that's where you kind of first learned to sell. And then you jumped into business. When you jumped into business and started doing sales, obviously it wasn't just any business? Was it
No.
direct marketing? Was it?
I'll tell you where we got our transition. We found ourselves fired college football coach and wife, and my wife was a voice coach. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves $350,000 in medical debt, fired college football coach, took a high school job for $25,000 a year. We were in the bottom of the grave. They were throwing dirt on us, and we signed up into a multi-level marketing direct sales company, knew nothing about business, knew nothing about multi-level marketing, knew nothing about sales. Pretty much we were at the peak of our ignorance. But here's what I knew. One night I made 56 calls and got 56 no's. And that night told me this: I was calling the wrong people and I didn't know what to say. So at the very infancies, that's 2/3 of what you need to do to sell. You need to know how to generate quality leads, and you need to know what to say to qualify a quality meeting. The third is the meeting itself. So even in the infancy of our peak of ignorance, I had hit a place where I realized and I knew what I didn't know. That began a trek. Within 4 years, we paid everything off. We went full time, and they put us on stages around the world, speaking and training about how to sell, how to build multi-level market, whatever. And after a few years doing that, we're sitting in a hotel in Toronto. We had spoke at a convention. We said, it's time for us to move. And that day, we went full time in our speaking, coaching, training business.
So at that moment, you're all in. You were all sales. And what year is that roughly?
The year that we left multi-level marketing, we left in 2002, went full-time in this with the same principles, that I was going to have to generate leads. I was going to have to pick up the phone, book appointments. I was going to have to do meetings. We were raw, but we knew what we needed to do. And that first month, we made 5 solid figures in the speaking, training, coaching. And what we started to realize was this: the world of speaking, coaching, and training is just tons of very talented, charismatic human beings. But the percentage of those that make a full-time income is very small, not because they can't speak, coach, train, but because they don't have the ability to get consistent clients. So that's where we started to move into that space too. So although we were doing sales training for B2C and B2B, small, medium, and large, anything from a small company right up to Wells Fargo and everything in between, we saw a gap and a need to help speakers, coaches, and trainers learn the business side of that business.
Okay. So what multi-level marketing company were you working with?
We got in the Amway business in 1992.
Cool. So when I was in college, when you're playing NCAA, it's hard to get a job. They don't want you to really make any money until now. Now they're paying people millions of dollars for it. But I got into Advocare.
Great company.
Yeah. I got into Advocare during the summers, and that was how I made my money. And I was selling without selling. Because everybody used to ask me back in the day or back in college, they'd be like, hey, man, what supplements do you take? Like, what's in your pre-workout bottle? And I was like, I don't know. I'd tell them, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get involved with a supplement company that I like. And I'm just going to start telling people, hey, man, take this. If you like it, get it from me. And, dude, I made good money every summer doing that.
They have great product at that time. I know since then they've done something different. But at that point in time, they were strictly direct sales, and they had a great product. And we actually spoke or coached some of the people in that industry.
Yeah, it was good people, and it was building in Chattanooga at the time, and my sister was involved with it. So it was fun, but it kind of taught me sales prior to even learning sales. And then when I got out of college, I jumped into logistics. I don't know if you've taught anybody that's in the logistics world. But
I have a client in Lakeland, Florida. I've been working with them a year and a half. I help them really go out and find loads, and I help them find drivers. And so I started out with them in sales training on the phone with their 2 teams. And then I went into communications training with them. I do leadership coaching with the sales managers. So I do know your industry. It's a great industry.
Yeah, it's really good. It's fun. I think it's great for athletes to jump into. For some reason, they just seem to pick it up real quick. Athletes, military, cops, anybody with like structure backgrounds usually pick it up really well.
Sure, for sure.
So we started doing that. We've been doing pretty well over here, and I picked it up just learning the operational side, and that was the biggest thing for me in sales was learning what you're selling, because when you're selling a service, it's a lot harder than just selling a product. So what would be your tips to someone selling a service against somebody selling something that's tangible?
First of all, I think what they have to learn is they have to know the product, who they want to sell it to, what the results of it delivered. Okay. And again, it still goes back to the structure in the process. The only thing that changes. So, for example, in the middle of our day, I call it, the value proposition day, one of the owners of a company lost his salesperson, got a phone call, and had to shift what he was going to be selling. Well, it didn't change anything. Now all we got to do is change the product, change the target market, change the value proposition, and we're ready to go. So it's really whether you're selling a service, which I sell, or you're selling a hard product. The process is the same. The only difference is when you get into the meeting, is being able to explain the uniqueness and what it's all about.
Gotcha. Okay, so you pretty much have the same playbook for everybody. It's just a matter of plugging and playing a few things up top.
You got 24 people, 18 different industries. If I had to have 18 different ways to do it, you can't do it. But it works for 100% of the industries we've ever worked in, because, again, it is a very solid process. And so Gunnar, the DI behavior style, like yourself, whatever you decide to do, you can do. Because built in it is drive. The interactive behavior style has a lot of talent, but the common everyday person is not gifted with charisma and talent. So if your sales training or your sales acumen is only for the gifted, for the charismatic, for the outgoing, for the people who like to talk a lot, you don't have a sales process and you don't have a business. We had to develop a methodology that would work for all people in all industries and all products.
I mean, that makes sense. So I'm assuming as a coach, you was able to kind of look at what everybody else was doing. So I'm assuming you probably went to a bunch of conferences, a bunch of keynotes, a bunch of other sales trainings, and you was like, all right, these guys are doing this, these guys are doing that. How do I fill the gaps? Like, I'm assuming, is that probably your thought process as a coach?
Well, that's what football guys do, right? I mean,
right. Yeah. You're trying to fill the gap, fill the hole.
Well, what happened was when we decided to launch it, I asked my wife, go online and find out what sales trainers don't want to teach and what salespeople don't want to learn. Because
the hard work.
Well, we had given the world. I mean, there was the Brian Tracy's, there was the Grant Cardone, there were all these people out there that were all really, and they had decided to move more into the celebrity. All right, spend tons of money on advertising. So you got your celebrity people up here, right? Well, what we found were the gaps were a lot of fundamentals, were a lot of the things like, a person with charisma or, that A-type will stand in front of the room and they'll do a phone call in front of everybody. Well, that's great, but don't help everybody else. So Dawn said, there's a lot of people saying they're teaching phone skills, but I can't find very many that in the training room do it live. I said, well, that's going to be our key. We're going to take that to market first. Then when we looked at the way people developed value propositions, they were impatient with the process. They wanted to get through it. That's the richest piece of our training. It takes time. And so, wherever your uniqueness starts, your competition goes away. So we go head to head with some of the biggest ones out there, and there's stuff they do a lot better than us. But there's some things we do that we believe are better, and that's what we sell, and that opens doors for us.
Sure. So you talked about Grant Cardone. We do Cardone University with my group. It's interactive. It's on the Lightspeed program, so it's very easy to see the video, take the test, and it's very repetitive. Is kind of what I've noticed. But you pick it up, and the people that are new, They're learning from it. I'm learning from it as well. But I'm also one of those guys I'm always on YouTube. I'm always looking at other guys' stuff. So like I'm not just caught up in his Kool-Aid. I'm caught up in everybody. I'm trying to be as good as I possibly can be. Who was, if you had to give like maybe 2 or 3, who were the top salespeople that you were going and kind of studying prior to starting your own deal?
Okay, that's a good question. You know, we all have read books, and we all, you know, whether it was the Zig Ziglar, the Brian Tracy's, the big real estate guy, Grant, whatever. The one thing I kept coming up with is this. Number one, are these people really doing it now? Okay, and I'm not putting anybody down. Please do not misunderstand what I'm saying. I have a basic philosophy I work with my coaching clients on and myself called Fresh Fruit Check, which is this person better at this than I am? Are they doing it now? So let's go back in history and you look at Chet Holmes. Chet Holmes was probably the best sales strategist that ever wrote a book, ever did anything. He, towards the end of his life, he died young in his 50s. He had partnered up with Tony Robbins to create a mastery class. It was great. But the Chet Holmes that of the book writer and the speaker was now down the road and no longer what he was teaching when he was in the trenches. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted people in the trenches.
I got you.
And
no,
so
that makes sense.
All these people out there are great. Are they training what they do and did, or are they selling books? And I'm not giving an opinion. And so what happened was, you got to understand that during our time in Amway, we saw some of the greatest speakers of all time on stage. And then we started speaking with them, and I'd look at what they were doing, and I go, boy, I really like that. I really don't like that. But then at some point in time, we have to put our stake in the ground and say, but what do we do? And we started to create a methodology that I've had people come from all over the country. And when they go to our boot camp, they just say, this is more application-based. We can measure every aspect. I mean, one of the things we teach is 20 different ways to generate leads. But we don't just talk about it. We teach each of those ways of lead generation. And so we also have to understand the difference between sales and marketing. 90% of the people writing books and teaching sales, they're great, but what they're really teaching is marketing. Okay? One of the hardest things to do as you do this is to stay focused on who you are and what you do, because it's so easy to get bored. I mean, I have people constantly saying, Joe, you should do this. Joe, you should do that. Joe, you should do this. No, I want it to be the best tactical consultative sales trainer in the world. Okay? That's what I went after. Now, do I have a passion for leadership? Yeah. Will I teach it? No. Okay? Just like our speaker boot camp. It's not for people who want to learn how to speak. You can do that at Toastmasters. It's for people who want to take their intellectual property and talent and monetize it. So I guess I took the long way around. Every trainer, coach, or speaker has their uniqueness. We know ours.
Well, that's great. So you found your niche, and that's what you're going with. When you're talking about the communication and the speaking, I'd love to hear more about that, because that's something that I want to do eventually. One of these days. Well, I'll say that like as soon as possible, right? Like I'd love to be one of those guys that's up on a stage speaking, telling my story, doing my thing. I've always wanted to do that. I've been very passionate about seeing other people do that. So, what are the principles you teach when it comes to that, and how does that go?
Again, that's a great point. When you look at people who are up on stage, 90% of them are not getting any money. They just want the stage so bad, and they want to do the back-end sales model. That's great. That's not our model. Our model is when Joe Pici opens his mouth, he's going to get paid. Why? We deliver value. And so we teach people how to build a speaking, coaching, training business that you can make a full-time income even on a part-time basis. So this is everything to do with your business model, what you want to take to market, how you want to deliver it, how your branding plays into it, how to build out training materials, marketing materials. We teach people how to do a short presentation that if you were in front of your target market, an associate, let's say you went to the logistics convention and they said, hey, would you do something for us? And you went up there for 20 minutes. What would compel people in that audience to want to contact you and say, hey, we'd like you to come in and do some consulting or speaking for our company? So the whole training is really about how do you take the thoughts between your ears and the talent and the desire and turn it into a real business?
So you're not only, yeah, absolutely. So you're not only talking about teaching people sales and phone master, you're teaching people how to do what you've done.
Well, yeah, we have a couple verticals. One vertical is sales, consultative sales. So we can work with individuals in our coaching right up to Aflac, Nationwide, logistics. So and the way we deliver is either people come to our boot camp or we go into their corporation or we do executive coaching. Another vertical is we take people entry level right up through New York Times bestseller that want to monetize their intellectual property. So that's a separate training, but it's geared to people who want to monetize. Okay. Mm-hmm. And again, I've had New York Times bestsellers and they were making a lot of money and the market changed and they never had to learn the business side. Okay. So even though they might be better speakers than Joe and Dawn Pici, they don't have that consistent income because they never had to learn. We help them fill in those gaps.
So there's a difference in being good, charismatic, high energy, and a good speaker, and knowing how to get paid to get up on the stage and speak. You could be almost a bad speaker, know the business end of it, get up there and get paid to do what you're doing, and somebody else be a really good speaker, motivate the crowd, and not get paid a dime.
Well, there's two sides of the business. There's the ice cream, there's the creative, there's the speaking, and then there's the other side, the back end. And this is what happened. 2008, we went to the National Speakers Association convention, right? And I said, Dawn, let's just go to this thing to see where we are. And I mean, we had been in six figures for a bunch of years. We just want to see where we were in the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. And in 2008, the world imploded. So a lot of your speakers, coaches, and trainers either went part-time or started to partner up. And we're sitting there and we're around these tables and I'm listening to celebrities whining. And you and my behavior style are similar. You're a DI, I'm a DC, but we're very driven and I don't really like whiners. And so I'm listening to these celebrities that we've paid to listen to talk about how bad the economy is. So I looked at my wife and I go, Dawn, I'm not Tony Robbins, I'm not Zig Ziglar, but we're tripling our income this year in the worst economy of our lifetime. We need to go home and figure out what we're doing. We literally got up and walked out of the convention. We came to my office and got on our whiteboards. And what we learned was that we had learned the back end because we had to, because we weren't celebrity. We had to learn all the foundation of how to build a speaking business. Now, the funny thing is it continues to evolve. When COVID hit, we only had 3 ways we could deliver. Now we can deliver content 10 different ways. So back to our buddy, Joe Miller. I met Joe Miller on a cold call, and Joe Miller came to our sales boot camp and our business of speaking, training, and coaching boot camp. All right. Well, he's an old salty dog, been selling forever. He loved the training. Well, he just came back for a refresher on the business of speaking training because he wants to start launching his own consulting training company part-time. So nice. Am I answering your questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a fascinating thing because, so many people, I think in my generation, they want people to see them. They want, the followers and the likes and to be on the stage and all these things. I guess maybe if you're in sales, I guess that's what a lot of people want that are my generation. But, at the end of the day, like I just want to be able to present value to people, teach from my experiences because my experiences are much different than other people's and other people's experience much different than mine. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest of anything, but with a football background, like you can admit to this, like there's things that you learn when you play a certain level of football that nobody else is going to learn. And when you can put that and kind of, mix it up in a bag of an industry like logistics, it just works. And I think that there's something there. So I'd love to learn more about that. I definitely need to probably get down there to that.
Here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. I always ask people this question. Okay. When they, like with you, I can see you light up thinking about the fact that you have so much that you could offer people because you've got experience and you've learned how to say, hey, if I do this and this works. But now the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to get paid to do it? Because most people, when you ask that question, they go, well, it would be nice, right? But here's what I know. What you give for free, they will never pay a fee. And you have to be careful where you are right now, because what's between your ears is intellectual property. And if you start giving that away and then circle the wagons and then try to get paid for it with the same people, they'll give you the dull stare. And so protecting your content and your intellectual property becomes very important.
So at that point, I'm assuming that you're saying that, like, don't necessarily get on YouTube like, hey, this is the way you should do this and this is the way you should do that. More along the lines of give a little bit of fillers, and if you want to learn something else, maybe contact me. Is that what you're talking about? Like, how would you even get started in that process?
Well, we have funnels, and I'm going to give you a secret sauce right here.
Secret sauce, I love it.
Secret sauce. You ready? This is for you and your audience. When I'm talking, speaking, or training, they get what and why. They have to pay for the how. I haven't taught you anything today. All I've given you is what and why. You want to monetize your speaking, training, and coaching? You come to our boot camp, and then you will. And so that's the whole context of everything I think about. People will call me up. Hey, Joe, like, for example, we teach people how to navigate the gatekeeper. The number one question I have for people all over the world is, hey, Joe, I'd like to have a cup of coffee with you. Pick your brain about navigating the gatekeeper. And then I say nicely, I'm a fee-based picker. I'm not going to give that away. I got people who just spent X amount of dollars, flew from around the country to get these things, and other people want it for free. And what people get for free, they don't value.
Absolutely. So I also do professional wrestling. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's crazy. It's crazy how much sales can go with professional wrestling as far as like your branding. And there's definitely a behind the scenes aspect to that as well of getting ahead. We call it the politics of pro wrestling, but I guess that's kind of the same thing in the speaking business, is understanding how to navigate the waters behind the scenes in order to be able to walk through the curtain, get up on the stage. And there is guys that do it for literally, we make this joke, a hot dog and a handshake. Like, you'd be surprised how many guys wrestle, put their body on the line. Like, I know it's fake, right? But you definitely landing on the ground, like put their body on the line for a hot dog and a handshake. Then you got guys that maybe don't do as much, but are good storytellers, and they might make $250 to $2,000 a show just on the independent scene, so they can make good money. So it sounds very similar to that.
It takes a while to start to, I think the hardest person you sell your value to is the person you shave or don't shave. The guy in the mirror. That's the key. And so, once it happened here, once I realized that what my wife and I knew had monetary value, the game was over. Okay. It literally was over. And I also believe this. I have never seen anybody value information they didn't have to pay for. You're an athlete, man. No pain, no gain. If I don't have to sacrifice to succeed, it has no value.
Right. Yeah, and that's the same thing. I mean, just like in wrestling. So if you have a free show, nobody's coming to the show. But if you have a show for $10, $20, you'll have, 500 people show up. It's weird how that works, but it works like that every time. They don't want to go to, because they think it's going to be cheap. They think it's going to be free. It's going to be cheap. It's not going to be as good. Not as many good guys. But I've seen it happen time and time again. Joe, what else you got going on right now? You got anything coming up in the next few weeks people can kind of check into? Is there any digital content they can get into?
Wait, can you see that whiteboard behind me? Wait, right there. You see that whiteboard?
Yep.
Okay, see that?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all the formal proposals I've had out since January 1st. Now, a proposal comes after a sales meeting. Once it hits proposal within 12 months, about 90% close. From January 1st until this morning, I have 131 proposals out. I work a lot, but it's not work, is what I love doing. But I figured out very simply, that's the key to my business. So, for example, even though I did training all week, first thing this morning, I had a one-on-one coaching with a regional director of Aflac. Okay. After I get off this podcast, the rest of the day is selling. Tomorrow morning, I have a half-day coaching with a big franchise company. So I'm either, when I'm delivering, I'm either live or virtual. I'm either doing speaking or training or coaching. And so it's not like I have a gig. I'm always doing this, right? I mean, it's like, this is what I do. I get paid to coach. I get paid to train. So I'm not going to do it once a week.
No, I got you. That makes sense. Now, you said that you got to do some selling later today because your schedule's open for it. So I guess I'm big into routines, big into like learning how, successful people do things. Give me like a normal day for you. What's a normal day for you?
These are the phone calls I got to make today. Okay. So I get up at 3:30 every morning. I get on the stationary bike. All right. I drink lemon water. I hit my stationary bike. By 4:30, I'm showered and shaved, and it's time to go. Now, depending on if I'm training or coaching, that's one thing. If I'm selling, then I'm going to be on LinkedIn because 91% of our leads are coming from LinkedIn. I'm going to generate leads. Okay. When the bell rings, when it's time, I'm picking up the phone. I'm booking appointments.
What time is that?
I start at 7 o'clock. I know there are companies that I can do at 7 o'clock.
Sure.
All right. Now, I will make a week 150 outbound calls. Now, if you're only selling, that's not a lot of calls. But if you're doing everything else, that's a lot of calls.
Right.
All right. In a lot of those calls will go to what I call a phone sales core story. Last year, 2021, I got 315 proposals out, right? Every one of my sales in 2021 was over the phone.
Wow.
So a lot of my sales go to a phone meeting, all right? And so then I do what's called a core story, and then either a proposal goes out or not. Once the proposal out, I go into a follow-up sequence. When the person wants to retain us, I get 50% up front, or it doesn't go on my calendar, non-refundable. I don't chase money. So that's what I do when I'm selling.
Hey, I love it. So I guess let's talk to guys that are not doing everything, guys that are just strictly selling. What would you be looking at numbers wise? Like are you more, quality over quantity? Or are you quantity over quality? Are you a little bit of both? Like, what are you looking for in sales numbers?
First of all, a person who's just selling, okay, here's what I look at. If they're generating their own leads, how many leads are they generating a day? How many phone calls are they making a day? How many sales meetings are they making a day, a week, a month? How many proposals are going out? I don't care if it's quantity or quality. If a person is just selling, I can measure how good they are, measure the growth of the business based on one thing: how many quality meetings they're doing every month.
And what would you consider a quality meeting? Is that over the phone, giving a presentation? Or is that the qualifying aspect of it?
That is what we call a core story, which is starting out with questions. The majority of salespeople show up and throw up. It's all about them. It's about their product. They're looking to close. They're pushing. I'm consultative. I am interviewing them.
Right.
Okay. If a salesperson is not doing a minimum of 20 of those a month and above, there's something wrong, something really wrong. I'd fire them. That's their job.
So I would call those pretty much discovery calls in our
But
industry.
and discovery with the intent, we're moving it into the sales process.
Gotcha.
When I went into this logistics company, I will not mention their name. All right, and they brought me in to do what's called a sales intensive, which is I start the day out with putting a process in, then we move into some communications, then we go into scripting and value propositions, and we're going to hit the phones. And then I teach them that initial core story, right? I got in there, started training, and when it was over, I said to the two owners, I said, "You're training the wrong people." They said, "Excuse me?" I said, "They won't be here in 6 months. If you hold them accountable for what you just paid for, they will not be here, and you're training the wrong people." I said, "You talked them into this job." So they're looking at me like, this guy is insane. I said, "Look, you're my client. I have to be honest with you. You're looking for ambition and self-discipline. I can train anybody to sell, but if they're not ambitious, if they don't have self-discipline, you're wasting your time." 8 months later, they're all gone. So they call me up and they go, "We got a new team." I said, "Do not pay me for training. I want to talk to them first." I went in, I interviewed them all. I said, "This is the right team." We trained them. The training paid for itself within 4 hours. Look, of all the things you and I know business to be, the most quantifiable thing there is sales. Salespeople sell. That's their job, right? They're not managing, they're not marketing, they're selling. And I believe you hire slow, you fire fast.
Take your time hiring and get rid of them when they're not doing the job, right?
Again, and I'm not talking about are they closing. I'm talking about are they doing all the processes consistently, because closing happens because of it.
No, that makes all the sense in the world. Well, hey man, we're coming up on 42 minutes. I know you're an extremely busy guy. You got a whole notepad there of stuff to call. We got some things to jump to too, but I had a fantastic time talking to you. I want to get you on later. I'm gonna try to get to the presentation boot camp you got going on.
Well, what I'm gonna do is, would you like me to send you out a copy of what we cover in that boot camp?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll get that out to you. You already have the sales one, so just keep that. I'll send the Business of Speaking Training Boot Camp. And I don't want this to sound like a hard close, but I will tell you this. We're 40% sold out.
And this is the one in October?
Yeah, we sell out fast. So what I'll do is I'll send it to you. If it's something you want to do, 50% deposit. We pay the balance 2 weeks before, but I'll get that all to you today.
Okay. Yeah, I'd absolutely love that. And last thing, and what I'm doing on these LinkedIn interviews is before we go, I want to give just, if you had one tip to somebody jumping into sales right now.
I also have a gift.
Oh, okay. What you got?
Right? Anybody who's listening to this, take out your phone and go into your text message. And the message, you're going to write the word Sales Edge, SALESEDGE. Some phones will split it. If it splits, it put quotes around it. Sales Edge, send it to 55678. That'll take you to a Pici and Pici link. Hit the link. That'll take you to a splash page. There is a free masterclass, The 9 Essentials of Sales Success. Enjoy it. That right there, great content. You'll have a great time watching that. My phone number for anybody who wants to have a complimentary cup of Joe is 407-947-2590. Here's the final tip. Find the prize, find the price, and pay it.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. I love the branding on the cup of Joe. That was awesome, man. Get to it. Go sell some stuff today, and maybe we'll see you around, all right?
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you, sir. Bye.